Hello, my name is Alicia, and welcome to my Unnoticed Evil channel, where I talk about certain behaviors and ways of thinking that we may not think much of, but that can be harmful and often come with wicked intentions. And today I'm going to be talking about the treatment of women on television and in popular culture. Now, the content of this video is going to criticize and condemn some very popular movies and sitcoms. So if you don't want to watch your favorite comedies being criticized or denounced, then this is not the video for you. But for the rest of you, be prepared to not see television the same way again. So let's get to it. Now, our culture has evolved so that it largely believes that women should be able to do all the same things that men do. And indeed, the 1950s housewife stereotype has been commonly perceived as offensive. However, the devoted housewife at least is seen as a human being, though maybe lower status. She has value. She is the one that the husband consults with when he has important decisions to make for the family. She is the husband's support system in times of difficulty. Now, of course, you may always get the grumpy man who comes home and says, "Where's my dinner?" But of course, it's bad to be married to somebody who is a crappy person, regardless of whether or not you have a career. Now, these days, Hollywood culture has presented itself as being pro-feminist by showing female characters excelling in a lot of traditionally male endeavors, like in combat, where scientists and engineers were in leadership positions. But Hollywood culture has reverted to actually a more harmful form of sexism that's even more harmful than the 1950s housewife stereotype, and this is sexual objectification. So in television, women are often portrayed as being subhuman sources of sexual entertainment, who are available as sexual entertainment to any men in their vicinity. And this particular type of sexism is actually hard to escape. While you can prove as a woman that you're not a housewife by excelling in traditionally male activities, you can't really prove that you're not a sex object. Even if you're old and ugly, you still can be seen as a sex object, though maybe lower quality merchandise. And so now there is a movie called Charlie's Angels, which starred Drew Barrymore and Cameron Diaz. And this is an example of a film that shows women excelling in traditionally male activities, but while still being sexually objectified in some scenes. And so we see here that these women actually do excel greatly in combat and also are pretty highly intelligent, as you can see in this clip here.
Damn, I hate to fly.
But they only answer to me. My name is Charlie.
Meet the most elite crime-fighting force ever assembled.
But we also see that there are some other scenes where they get sexually objectified.
There he is, first table on the right.
My singing box is sexy.
They got the wrong address.
To your boss.
I thought the Coke machine should be free.
Why?
Because caffeine helps us program.
Perfect. Smart, simple, and logical. And what did your boss say?
He said no.
And so the overall message is that while a woman can do all the traditionally male activities that she wants, she still has to be a good source of sexual entertainment to the opposite sex. And indeed, her level of worth and level of validation is still tied on some level to her sexual appeal. Sometimes a woman may even be valued based on how intense of an orgasm she can have, as is shown in this audio clip from the TV show Working Moms, where a woman comes to see her ex-husband and he puts her under hypnosis and he criticizes her for not having an intense enough orgasm.
Could barely hear you climax over the sound of the ocean. I think that's what always bothered me about the way that you orgasmed. It was just so tepid. And I've been with so many women since you that have the most incredible orgasms. This one girl right after you, she would actually drool. It's fantastic.
Now, of course, we're familiar with how a man sometimes says or does whatever it takes to get sex. And sometimes we see in popular culture that when a man then leaves a woman after she has had sex with him, the woman may be told, well, that's just what men are like. But that's not really what men are like. That's what bad men are like. Only bad men do those things. So television will often present these sexually exploitative behaviors of men towards women as not only being normal, but even as being funny or cute. And so in television, sexually predatory behaviors, including rape and attempted rape, will sometimes be presented as being funny. And so one example of these scenes is from the movie Scary Movie 3, which is a satire of the movie Signs. And in this particular scene, a woman has been hit by a truck, is pinned to a tree, and is in her last few minutes of life. And her husband, who just happens to be a pastor, decides to forcibly have sex with her shortly before she dies, as you can see here.
It's your wife, Father. She's hurt.
Annie?
She was hit by a truck and she's pinned against a tree.
I don't understand.
As long as the truck has her pinned, she'll stay alive.
I still don't get it.
This is your wife.
She broke her wiener?
Look what happens to the taco.
Look, I don't understand all this fancy medical lingo. I want to see Annie.
She's split in half.
You mean like down the middle in half?
At the waist.
You mean this is the last time I can talk to the top half?
Yes. The truck is the only thing that is holding her together.
Let's say this is her bottom half. Can I squeeze in a few minutes with that?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Let me explain.
Tom, go to her.
Tom, I'll need a ride home.
Hey, baby. How's it going?
Oh, I'm dying, Tom.
Don't talk like that. The truck barely hit you.
Honey, kiss me one last time. Promise me you'll never remarry.
I promise.
And no sex either.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
No sex.
Honey, you're not speaking clearly. Your injuries must be awful.
No sex.
Oh, a cruel fate to
No
shroud
sex.
my wife's dying words in
sex.
mystery.
No sex!
Now, of course, he does end up relenting, but you can see how this scene is not only shows a heinous behavior, but it's a scene that's in a comedy, and it is a comedy scene, and we're expected to laugh and think it's funny. But when you look at what's being done to that woman in her last few minutes of life, it is really heinous. And so there are a few other examples too, where it shows rape scenes and attempted rape scenes in comedies, and it's all presented as an object of amusement. Now, there's another movie, a little bit more of an obscure movie called It's a Boy-Girl Thing, where a teenage boy and a teenage girl who happen to not like each other switch bodies. The teenage girl who is in the boy's body decides to break up with the boy's girlfriend, and the boy gets mad. So he decides, while he's in the girl's body, to offer the girl's body up to another boy for sex, as you can see in this scene here.
I have to go. Thanks for taking me. You too. Congratulations. Tonight's night you finally get to visit. Hey, Nikki!
And so later on, the girl who is in the boy's body overhears these girls talking, saying that somehow she had sex in a trailer park, as you can see in this scene.
What? No! Didn't you guys hear? No, what? She did it in the trailer park. Hi, Woody. No, she probably didn't even know it was a trailer park. There's no way she did. Come on.
And so upon finding out that her body has lost its virginity in the trailer park, she of course cries. And of course it's made out to be funny because what you see is a macho football player crying on the stairs like a little girl. But in reality, it's the girl who's basically, as far as she's concerned, been raped.
Are you crying? What's wrong?
I'm sorry. I just found out I lost my virginity in a trailer park.
Now, of course, this is a movie that's a comedy, and these scenes are comedy scenes. But what the boy did to the girl was pretty much the equivalent of if he offered her unconscious body up to another boy for sex, while explaining to the other guy that she said yes. Now, of course, the boy did relent, as you can see in this scene here.
Not here.
Okay, let's go through the master bedroom.
Okay.
Let's get cracking, baby. Daddy's packing.
Oh God, what was I thinking? This is so gay.
What are you waiting for, babe? Daddy wants to see some flesh.
He's gonna make me his bitch. I'll be Woody the bitch boy.
Maybe you need a little help?
I have to pee.
Now?
Yeah, I could feel the freaking moat. So you get undressed and don't start without me.
But he did not relent because he had mercy on her. He relented because he just got grossed out at the idea of having sex with another guy. Now, there's yet another attempted rape scene that also is in a comedy series called The IT Crowd, where Jen's licentious boss decides to slip something into Jen's drink, which would have put her into an altered state of mind that would have caused her to have sex with anything sitting right in front of her. See here.
Listen, don't sit on anything. And, Mr. Renham's laptop is broken.
Oh,
Something
right,
flashed up a second
I'll help
ago.
it. No, have you tried turning it off and on again?
No, we haven't tried.
Okay, well, let's have a little look-see.
I want to go.
No,
I want to do a job.
No, well, you can do the next one.
Don't touch that.
Why are you drinking Rohypnol, Jen? Flunitrazepam, Kistamet. Yeah, that's definitely Rohypnol. Are you having problems with insomnia, or...?
That's nonsense.
Drink it, then.
All right, I will. Here we go. Perfectly normal cup of tea. Now, if you don't mind, I've some falafel to do.
Nothing.
Yes, I've some falafels that need pipping, and I'm the molder.
You did put something in that tea.
Damn that sorcerer! 20 gold pieces and I'm wankered on Rohypnol.
Oh, God, Rohypnol. And what's the matter with you?
I just saw his film. I didn't care for it.
I am very aroused.
Oh, I'll come back downstairs with you guys.
No, it's all right. We've got a replacement.
Oh, shut up.
All right, okay. Who's that?
It's an answering machine.
An answering machine.
It's called Gen 2. It does everything you do, and it doesn't boss us about. It is brilliant.
Oh, shut up, for God's sake.
You replaced me with an answering machine.
Okay, I think we should probably leave now. I don't really like the look in his eyes. Yeah, let's go. Where's Jen? Jen?
Pack her up, boys. It's hammer time.
You not deserve each other.
Jen!
Jen, hello?
I've accidentally locked the door there, Jen!
And so once again, this scene is an attempted rape scene, but it's also a comedy scene. We're supposed to think it's funny. And you can imagine the destructive subliminal messages that are presented in this scene. And so there is still yet another attempted rape scene where this time the attempted rape was successful. And this is from the 1980s movie Revenge of the Nerds, where one of the nerds decides to dress up in the costume that an attractive woman's boyfriend is wearing. So basically he disguises himself as the boyfriend of an attractive woman by wearing his costume so that he can have sex with the woman. See here.
Take off your mask. Oh, Stan. You're so kinky. You're that nerd.
Yeah.
God, you were wonderful.
Thanks.
Are all nerds as good as you?
Yes.
How come?
Because all jocks think about is sports. All we ever think about is sex.
Now, of course, this attempt to rape was successful, but notice how the woman reacted when she found out that the man she had sex with was not really her boyfriend. She did not react with outrage like you would think she should react. She actually liked it. She mentioned how good he was at performing, and she even decided that maybe he should be her new boyfriend. But you see here, this is not the way that a woman in her right mind would react to a rape in real life. And so this is how television brings across these pretty powerful subliminal messages, which tell us that rape and attempted rape not only is okay, but is really a source of amusement. And so effectively on TV, sexual exploitation is a guy thing meant to make us laugh. It presents various sexually malicious behaviors as being funny, and numerous scenes you may have seen will show attractive women getting unwanted attention from less attractive men, while we, as the viewers, are enticed to laugh. Television may even sometimes show a man pretending to care about a woman's mentally retarded sibling, just so that he can get the woman to like him and have sex. Or it may show a man doing seemingly altruistic deeds because chicks dig it, but not necessarily because they care about anybody. Now, a big character that is a sexual predator, but in a comical sense, is the Howard Wolowitz character from the Big Bang Theory TV series. And so he, of course, is a nerd, and he's trying to be a playboy, but he obviously is not attractive, and so we're supposed to laugh while he tries to be a playboy but is bad at it. But when we look closely, he has malicious intent. He sees women as conquests, not as fellow human beings, and he will even harass their other friend, Penny. And so this scene here shows Penny trying to stand up to Howard.
But back to you. I know you think you're some sort of smooth-talking ladies' man, but the truth is you are just pathetic and creepy.
So what are you saying?
I am saying it is not a compliment to call me doable. It is not sexy to stare at my ass and say, ooh, it must be jelly because jam don't shake like that. And most important, we are not dancing a tango. We're not toing and froing. Nothing is ever going to happen between us, ever.
Wait a minute. This isn't flirting. You're serious.
Flirting? You think I'm flirting with you? I am not flirting with you. No woman is ever gonna flirt with you. You're just gonna grow old and die alone.
Thanks for the heads up.
Howard, where are you going?
I'm going home to live my creepy, pathetic life.
Wow.
Well, someone had to say it. What?
He said maybe we should enter you in the killer robot competition.
So you can see here that while Penny is trying to stand up to Howard, after she spends who knows how many minutes trying to tell him off, trying to get him away from her, he somehow thinks that she's flirting with him. And this, of course, is very dangerous behavior. It represents a dangerous tendency by Howard to interpret a no as a yes. And of course, then, though, what makes it even worse is that after Penny tells off Howard, she somehow is made to feel guilty for telling him what he doesn't want to hear. And so you see this scene here where she tries to apologize to him.
Howard, do you think maybe sometimes you try too hard?
Look at me. What chance do I have if I don't try too hard?
Well, you'd have a terrific chance. I mean, you're smart, you're funny, you have a cool job, you build stuff that goes into outer space.
I guess.
No, look, I'm telling you, I've known you for like a year and a half, and this is the first time I feel like I'm talking to a real person. And you know what? I like him. He's a nice guy.
You really think so?
Yes.
I don't know.
No, I do.
But note, when she tries to apologize to him, he tries to forcibly kiss her. And of course she punches him, and the whole thing is presented once again as being funny. But I don't think it should be funny. Essentially, Penny is treated so badly that she resorts to an act of violence. And she should not have had to do that, and we should not be laughing at that. Now, of course, another scene, Penny wants to get Howard to do something for her. So she lists for him a bunch of friends of hers that she says are easy.
I don't need your attitude. Listen, just hold him there a little longer.
Look, I've done my best, but he wants to go home, and I don't know how to stop him.
Okay, how about this? You keep him there a little longer, and when you get to the party, I'll point out which of my friends are easy.
Don't toy with me, woman.
I got a hot former fat girl with no self-esteem. I got a girl who punishes her father by sleeping around, and an alcoholic who's 2 tequila shots away from letting you wear her like a hat.
Thy will be done.
Now you can see one of her friends, that she described as easy, used to be fat, but is not fat anymore, but because she used to be fat, she still has low self-esteem. Howard gets excited at the idea of a woman having low self-esteem because it means she will be an easier source of sexual entertainment. And so we see here that this kind of a thing excites Howard. And at the same time, though, a woman with low self-esteem would excite a man who is a sexual predator because it means it's easier prey, but would not necessarily excite a man who is a good person. Now, other scenes also depict Howard's sexually predatory tendencies. This scene depicts Howard sitting on a bench with Raj at a park when a woman passes by and smiles at him, and he takes it the wrong way.
Maybe after lunch we can go to Marie Callender's and have some pie. I'd like that. This is turning out to be a perfect Saturday. Good. I'm glad. Oh, man, did you see the way she smiled at me? Fine, go ahead. No? This is our day? If you want to chase after her, chase after her. Oh, who am I kidding? I wouldn't have a shot with a girl like that. Don't put yourself down. You're a very attractive man. You think so? Oh, absolutely. It wouldn't kill you to take a Pilates class with me now and then, but with a certain wiry appeal. Well, it doesn't matter, because she wasn't really smiling at me. Actually, in this case, I think she was. Really? Yeah. Bye.
You always do this, you know? You ditch me for a woman you don't have a shot with.
I totally had a shot.
With a woman you were chasing through a park. That's not a shot, that's a felony.
So we see here that when Howard sees a woman passing by and the woman so much as smiles at him, he decides to chase after her, thinking maybe she'll have sex with him. And yet, this scene represents a very dark reality for women, where if they get too friendly with certain men in the vicinity in real life, their safety can be threatened. And this kind of a dark reality should not be presented as comical. It is actually a very serious problem. Yet, despite how terrible Howard is, we're somehow supposed to think that the reason women don't like Howard is that he's not attractive or sexy. But in reality, he's just a horrible person, and he gives women a pretty good reason to stay away from him. Now, on the topic of toxic masculinity. Now, toxic masculinity does not mean that there's anything bad about being a man. Toxic masculinity presents a subculture that sets certain behavioral standards for men that are actually toxic. Now, men generally want to be viewed as being masculine, not as feminine sissies. The thing is, though, that cultures vary in what defines the manly man. And sometimes in popular culture, the courteous gentleman who wants to show the woman a good time and get to know her is seen as a homo or a sissy. The real manly man is the one who has an insatiable sexual desire and a long line of female sex partners. The manly man says or does whatever it takes to get sex because that's what guys are like. And so, in this particular subculture, not only is it okay for men to be sexually exploitative, but they're supposed to be that way because they're guys. Now, some of you may have seen the show Malcolm in the Middle. And in one of the later episodes, Malcolm decides not to have sex with a girl who's gone unconscious. And he's worried about what people will think of him because he decided not to have sex with this unconscious girl, as if somehow he was afraid people would see him as being a sissy or something. And he needs his brothers to tell him that it was actually kind of cool that he did not have sex with this unconscious girl. And so this right here shows a very dark part of culture, which presents certain behavioral standards for masculinity that are really destructive behaviors. At its worst, toxic masculinity says that men are not really supposed to be empathetic because that's a chick thing. Men are not really supposed to be attuned into another person's needs because that's a chick thing. But we see that when men live up to these ridiculous behavioral standards, no woman in her right mind would have anything to do with them. And yet, sometimes if women condemn these male behaviors, they're seen as a man basher. But we see, though, these are not really male behaviors, they are bad man behaviors. And so, amidst all these ridiculous behavioral standards, you may have heard some people, fictional or non-fictional, saying that pleasing women is this incredibly difficult task because women are just so complicated and so hard to figure out. But when we look at television, we see that behavioral standards for men are exceedingly low. Television will often show the buffoon husband with a smart, attractive wife, and sometimes the buffoon husband is just a rotten person, and being thoughtful and caring is the woman's job. Television will also sometimes show female characters responding favorably to bad male behaviors. However, these scenes where female characters respond favorably to these behaviors, they're really fictional scenes and the women are paid actresses. Now, some women do kind of put up with toxic masculinity and bad male behaviors. And there are certain reasons for that. Obviously, there are always some people who have been victims of previous abuse. But also, culture sends messages to women that somehow their worth and their validation is dependent on a level of sexual appeal, in vulgar language known as fuckability. Television sends these misleading messages to women that trick them into thinking that somehow being sexually appealing to a man is an accomplishment and means something. But in reality, men are not as selective as we are led to believe. Men will derive some degree of pleasure even if they have intercourse with a fat, ugly girl, and this is known in the literature as hogging. Yet, at the same time, men have more bragging rights if they manage to have sexual relations with an attractive woman. Now, so while women are conditioned to believe that somehow attention from men is a source of validation, in reality, I think it can be a curse when a man who is a horrible person, who doesn't see you as a human being, is actually drawn to you. It's more like a curse, not a blessing. There's no incentive whatsoever to attract these kinds of people. Now, as for nice guy syndrome. Nice guy syndrome is more opposing to toxic masculinity, but is still toxic. Nice guy syndrome basically says that the man thinks that as long as he is a thoughtful and kind person and a good friend to the woman who's always there, somehow we're supposed to be kissing his feet and somehow he is entitled to sexual relations in return. However, though, such a man who is thoughtful and kind and good friend who's always there but expects something in return is not really a friend. He's an enemy in disguise. And yet sometimes when these men act nice and think they're entitled to something in return and don't get what they think they're entitled to, they complain about how the woman always chooses a jerk. But we see here that if you act nice but expect something in return, you may as well be at least as bad the jerk, maybe even worse. At least the jerk is being authentic. Now, our culture has been offended at the notion of women being men's property. However, though, in a sense, women have gone from being private property to being more public property. In other words, they're not really owned by, say, their husbands or their fathers anymore, but rather by any men in their vicinity who just happen to think they're pretty. Of course, the classic example of this is when men do catcalling. Sometimes a woman is expected to be flattered when a man wants to claim her as his piece of property because it means he thinks she's pretty. However, though, if you ask me, I would say that women are worse off as public property than as private property. At least when women are private property, the men who own them are in their circle of loved ones. But if a man claims a woman as his property simply because of physical attraction or some other romantic attraction, that man is pretty much always going to have some evil intent. Now, another manifestation of women being public property is when women are somehow expected to smile. Now, sometimes it is appropriate to tell somebody to smile, like when, for example, a woman is a Disney princess in a Walt Disney parade. There are certain cases where it actually is appropriate to tell somebody to smile. But if a woman is just sitting on a bench or sitting at a party minding her own business, I believe telling her to smile may as well be a form of harassment. If you see a woman sitting there minding her own business with a scowl on her face, for all you know, her loved one could have died the previous day. Or maybe she received a cancer diagnosis, and she's told she only has months to live and is about to leave her young children behind. Fact is that she's a human being, and expecting her to just be happy all the time is just heinous. Essentially, telling a woman to smile may as well be code for, I don't care about whether or not you are happy, I just care about whether or not you look happy so that I am happy. And generally, telling someone to express an emotion that she may not even feel is just unhealthy. And I have seen some women smiling during interviews where they're recalling traumatic experiences that were making them cry. And as the tears come down their faces, they are still smiling. Did culture do this to them? Did culture tell them they're supposed to be smiling all the time? I don't know. But I cannot empathize with people who tell anybody to smile. I like people to be themselves, even if they never smile. For example, take Wednesday from the Addams Family. Perfectly likable character, hardly ever smiles. Obviously, you don't have to smile to be a likable person. So telling women to smile, once again, implies that they somehow are some form of public property, meant to please any random people in their vicinity. So, to wrap up, what does this mean for men? Well, men are receiving messages from popular culture telling them that certain behaviors towards women are okay when they are not. And it is men's responsibility to rise above this evil that is ingrained in culture and not adhere to these ridiculous behavioral standards. It is men's responsibility to behave like a decent human being and not expect people to kiss their feet just because they did something thoughtful or passed up on an opportunity to do something terrible. And I believe that when men assume these basic responsibilities, there will be plenty of women who will like them